Do you think it will be crucial to the planned growth of the club if Arteta is asked to leave at the end of the season, if he can't get us to top 4?
Well, I think you need to look at where Arsenal have come from in recent seasons, what the owners want, what they're implementing for Mikel Arteta and Edu, because Edu is working behind the scenes as well. It's a great question, because I think this year is a big season for Mikel Arteta, because I've always said, since he's joined the club, my view on the club was that people inside the club were too comfortable. They didn't have a winning mentality, and you need to strive to be at the top. I think Mikel Arteta has brought that in. He's cleared out the players that obviously he didn't want, he didn't feel were good enough. He's re-strengthened, he's brought players in. This is what I feel now is his team. So I would think that the programme would be to be inside the top 4 this season. Do I think would they ask him to leave, or would they sack him if he didn't make it? No, I don't think they will.
Yeah.
I think he'll get another season.
But that's the thing, Nigel. The club won't, because I think they are on the same page as Arteta, right? But then we get reactions from the fan base saying that, like, no such thing. Arteta had the privilege to stay if we don't get to top 4, because that's the realistic KPI. I agree. But also, back to the question that I posed to you just now, will that not hamper the growth? Right? If you just go for a result-oriented thing.
If you're talking, growth will come from winning. Growth comes from being successful. Arsenal are not where they were in the early 2000s. Arsenal have not been anywhere near that since they moved to the Emirates. Moving to the Emirates was supposed to be growth.
Yeah.
If you want to talk it in financial terms.
Yeah.
In fact, it's hampered for me, the team, but maybe in terms of revenue it hasn't. So that would be growth. Growth to me comes from success on the pitch. If you have success on the pitch, you fill the stadium week in, week out. You have a lot of corporate guests wanting to be there as well, and then that also becomes a little bit, well, are they the real supporters? But it's part of modern football. So for me, the key thing is success on the pitch means growth. If you're talking in terms of revenue and who wants to come to your football club when you're trying to sign them.
Yeah.
So Champions League will potentially invite bigger players to come to your club, but on top of that, then you've got to start winning trophies again. And that's what Arsenal need to do.
And I love what you shared, though, because that also tells us something. The very fact players like Jesus and Zinchenko wanted to come to us despite us not playing in Champions League yet this season. That tells something. But I did feel a sense of bitterness-ish when you shared about moving to Emirates. Now, as a player who has played at Highbury, and what's the biggest regret that you feel, like seeing how Arsenal is moving from Highbury to Emirates in that sense?
Well, listen, Highbury is an iconic stadium. It's had so many glorious occasions there in terms of watching their teams lift major trophies. It's got the history, but it couldn't be developed anymore. So it's 38,000.
Yes.
I love playing in that stadium. Night game, lights on, pitch and supporters. It's amazing. It is an incredible stadium. But if we talk about growth, revenue, then the modern stadium at Highbury, you get some seats where you could only see half the game. You had the pylons coming down. You used to have to dodge either side to watch the games. It's an old stadium with great history. The Emirates is a new stadium. It's set up to be a modern football club. It could have a lot more uses within the week as well. So I think the progression had to be there.
Yeah.
But when you take the progression from Highbury in terms of if you're looking at stadiums to the Emirates, you've also got to take a successful team with you.
Understood.
And then since we went to the Emirates, we've had one or two little bits, but we haven't had enough.
Yeah. In terms of not punishing the players so much verbally when the players commit honest mistakes on the pitch. Let's go back to that match last weekend where Saliba committed an on his own goal, right? The ball was obviously intended for Ramsey, but it was probably off the speed and everything. But the fans chanted his name through and through. Do you think that's amazing?
I thought it was a fantastic gesture, but what you've got to remember as well, Arsenal were playing well. Saliba is a young man that came, for me, with quite a huge reputation. I'd only seen little clips of this young man playing, but I was impressed in what I saw. He's quick, he's athletic, and then other people are talking about him, about who he looks like in terms of his style of play, and you're thinking, if this guy turns out to be anywhere near what they're talking about, we're going to have a sensational player. Then all of a sudden, he's not even in our plans. He's gone out on loan. The talk is he's not happy. He's going to leave. But I'm so pleased that he's now back. It looks as if he's developed. It's very early in his Arsenal career, but what I like so far is his attitude, and I think that's why you got the reaction that you got from the supporters, because I think they're hearing the same things. So it's an honest mistake. There's no point crucifying the young man. He's doing his job. He got it wrong with Ramsdale. And you then, I think as a young player, you accept that, and the supporters will accept that, but what you have to learn is that you don't do it again. You make sure you don't make the same mistake, because if you keep making the same mistake,
it's different.
Then the fans are not going to take that, and also the manager's not. But it is different. But that's why I feel that he got that support, and I think that is good. I will also say to you that it's been quite hostile in that stadium with, through some of the performances and the managers that have been there. I think it's only in maybe the last 6 months, maybe a year, that the fans are starting to realise and hope, because we're very early into this season, that maybe the change is coming at Arsenal at last.
Right.
It's taken a long time.
Because the whole was making fun of this whole trust the process thing, and suddenly when there's a sense of clarity, despite the result, despite the ranking last season, and people are seeing what's coming, I was not surprised the fact that when Saliba did mention, or probably it was, what was reported on media, that he wasn't planning to come back to EPL. That's it, because he was already nominated. No, he already won the award as League One Best Young Player. Like, he knew he could grow more. But then at the end of the day, he's still a player with Arsenal, and I think Arteta just handled the situation like, look, like, I think you're ready for the biggest league in the world, and this is where you come, and it just makes sense for him to come and play back for us. But there's one thing, right? You did mention about players can't keep on committing mistakes like that, or else, at one point the fans would react a certain way. Put Maguire in that position, just going to Manchester United for a while. But if you were to see that kind of, let's say, in the context of the game just started, in the first 20 minutes, it was the first mistake Maguire did, it would be different, right? The reactions would have been totally different.
It would be at Manchester United at the moment, because Manchester United have fallen further than Arsenal, if you like. I mean, look at what they won. They were dominant. We at times, the Arsenal team that I played in and teams later, were the teams that challenged Manchester United.
No one can forget that scoreline 8-2, though.
No, but now you're starting. She's picking on me already. But what I'm trying to say is, it's a huge club. There is no hiding place.
Yeah.
At the big teams, there is no hiding place. United have slipped, and the supporters are looking for answers. They're looking for someone to blame.
Yeah.
And they blame the Glazers. And at the moment, Harry Maguire is central to
and that's very
being
unfortunate,
crucial.
because that's the most obvious outlet they can go to.
Yes, so every little incident that comes on the TV, and they start analysing Harry Maguire, sometimes I have to say it isn't his fault, but somehow they can revolve it into his being his problem. But if you're a big enough character, you survive, because I think there's one thing for sure is Manchester United will come back eventually.
Yeah.
But it looks like the same.
It's a long process.
It's a long process, and it's looking longer after the first couple of
Right.
games of the season.
The toughest figure, probably the one who wears the captain armband, but that is not really the scenario these days, which is fine because, you know, captain doesn't have to be the one picking the fight or what, right? We have Odegaard as our captain right now, and you have Xhaka and Jesus assisting him on the captaincy role. It has just been announced by Arsenal last 2 days. Back in the day, on the days that Tony Adams had to be away, probably it was safe to assume the next senior player would take over the role, but it doesn't happen with Arsenal now. Do you think it's really exciting to have these young guns be assigned responsibility to?
Listen, I've been saying for for a season I don't get the Arsenal situation, if you want to call it revolving captain. They're almost saying like a group of captains. I think you need to have a captain, because for me, I'm not really worried about match day, because when you go out onto that pitch, you're one of 11 captains.
Yeah.
So if something needs to be addressed, you address it on the pitch.
Understood.
You don't go to Odegaard to address it. It could be too late in the game. You could be a goal down. So I'm not worried about on the pitch. Where I think that it's great to have the captain is maybe something happens within a game. We're having a video after, and the players maybe are not agreeing slightly with the manager. You can go to your captain, or there's other issues around. You go to the captain and just say, "Can you take this to the boss, and let's see how we sort this out." So I'm pleased that Arsenal have got a captain, but what I found fascinating at the weekend
way they structure it out.
What I found fascinating was that it was just before the game. It was Xhaka doing the team talk in the centre circle.
True though.
When the players go around. So, but Odegaard is the captain.
I think it's safe as well for us to assume why Odegaard was handed the role. Because you know how they're saying that Odegaard is Arteta's brain on the pitch, so he's Arteta's voice. He's the one who went to Arteta and like channeled the instructions, whatever. I think in that sense, yes, he's a captain. But in terms of pattern, I think probably in that setting, it makes sense for them to have a team of captains. Probably, I don't know. I'm just trying to make sense of you.
I'm sure that's what it was. I think it's sort of, I don't know.
Just
it's
different
like
back in your day.
It's probably the same as what I'm actually saying. So you've got a team of captains, so out on the pitch they can all
For different roles.
They can all sort of have their moments if you want. But you know, I'm just pleased that we've now got one captain.
Great, finally.
Rather than I have
After
to
the
keep
whole Alba
asking
fiasco and all that.
who is captain today.
Okay, I had to wrap up with one last question. Out of all current Arsenal players right now in the squad, who would you rather have as your teammate if you were still playing?
Well, I'd take Saka.
Why?
Well, it's a completely different position to me, so I would never talk about defensive side of it. But the real reason is when I was doing the work for Arsenal, Saka hadn't even made his under-23 debut, and I was talking to Freddie Ljungberg, and I was asking about players coming through, who's going to make the biggest impact. You know, because we'd heard about one or two other young players coming through, and he mentioned Saka, and Saka hadn't even made his debut at under 23 level, and he said this boy is by far the best. So I followed his progress and then very, very shortly after that, he was into the first team. You know, we were short. He came in. If you remember, he came in at left back, left wing back, right wing, left wing, and wherever that boy plays. He's if you're marking out of 10, he's 7 out of 10 and better each week. That shows real resilience, real strength, but great character, great skill, and that's why I've sort of followed him since he came into the team.
Would you transport him back to play with the squad that you played with before?
We had some very good players.
Do you think he could fit in?
I hope so. Yeah, I think he could.
That's big.
You know, I once got asked a question just very, very quickly, and I started laughing because some guy asked me, and we're talking about recently within the last year and a half, the team that you played with in '98, which is my double winning team, how many of your team would get into this current team? And I turned around to him and said, maybe you want to ask the question the other way around. How many of the current team would get into my team?
Yeah, I agree.
So
I'm usually not a fan of that kind of question because you talk about
no, because it's a different era.
Yeah.
But if you're assessing whether
One-to-one.
players could play in certain teams, I'm sure that Saka would be absolutely fine in our team.
So my co-host is a big fan of Newcastle fan. And do you think Newcastle have what it takes to be even in top 6 or top 8 this season?
I think they could be in the top 8. I'm not sure if they'll make the top 6 yet.
Okay, no, not in my era. Thank you so much, Nigel.